The first handheld on my list is this. This is the Game Boy Advanced, and this comes with a large slice of nostalgia because this is the first handheld that I bought on launch. In fact, it's not this one. Hold on. This is the first handheld I bought on launch. This is my original Game Boy Advanced. It's still in original condition, including a bit of a scratch on the lens. This is a modded Game Boy Advance. You can see it's got an IPS backlit panel, which makes it just that little bit nicer to use. And it's also got new buttons and a new case. But really, it's the screen that makes it way more usable. This is my favourite way to play the original cartridges on the original hardware, albeit with a modified screen. The game library for the Game Boy Advance is vast. In fact, there's over 1,000 games that you can play on this bad boy, and some of them are absolute bangers. I'm also a huge fan of the original horizontal layout. I do have an SP. I'm not a big fan of the clamshell, and I don't like the buttons on that thing. I just don't know what all the fuss is about. For me, the original layout of the Advance is the best. It's super ergonomic. It's not especially big, although obviously the clamshell can fold up smaller, but the hinge on that thing is rubbish. And with an upgraded screen, it's just the perfect handheld. Ooh. I'm going to have to put it down, otherwise I'm going to end up playing like 45 minutes of Mario Kart and forgetting to shoot the rest of this video. Next on my list is this. This is the PS Vita. I was late to the PS Vita party, as I'm pretty sure most people were, because it didn't sell very well, at least here in the West. I think they sold much better in Japan, and that is why a lot of the games are Japan exclusive, and they tend to be a lot of RPGs. Ironically, I actually think if they released it today in this exact form factor, it would sell extremely well. Maybe a little bit ahead of its time, and I think the appreciation for this thing has only grown since it was discontinued. Fingers crossed for a PS Vita 2 or similar. The PS Vita had everything that was great about the PSP, but it also had 2 analog sticks, and those analog sticks are far better than the one that was included on the PSP. The design of the Vita still holds up today in my opinion, and this being the slim model I think is the better looking of the two, although it would be nice to have the OLED screen on this one that was on the original. There are tons of exclusive games for the Vita, although not a load of games overall. And this thing has been hacked for a while. In fact, that's the main reason that I got one in the first place, was its hackability, which at the time was extremely difficult, and there was a high chance that you would brick it. Luckily, I managed to do it, and mine is still hacked, although I believe that it is now extremely easy to hack, and you basically just go to a website and tick yes, hack my Vita please, or something. Let me know down in the comments if that's true. Either way, you can run a bunch of other stuff on this. PSP games already run natively on the Vita, so that is where I play most of those, as well as the Vita exclusives. But you can run SNES and Mega Drive and Game Boy and a bunch of other stuff. Next on my list is this. This is the Game Boy Color, and this is the perfect mix between the original DMG and the Pocket that came after it. It's kind of smaller like the Pocket, but it also includes a colour screen, hence the name. And in my opinion, it's the perfect form factor for the original Game Boy, although this is technically a sequel. It's super comfortable to hold, it looks great, and it's almost indestructible. And of course, there's a ton of mods that you can do. Here you can see I've got a laminated IPS LCD display, and a new case, and buttons, and you know, you can get batteries and wireless chargers and all sorts of other stuff. USB-C charging, the lot. I haven't gone quite that far, but you can do a bunch of stuff to these. There are also a ton of games. There are Game Boy Color games, like this, as well as being able to play the original Game Boy games, like this. And there are also Game Boy games that will go in both systems, like this Wario Land, that will play in a full colour palette on the Game Boy Color and black and white on the original DMG and Pocket. So it's quite nice. Regular Game Boy games will be colorized on the color, but you basically get just one color and you can flick between them. Whereas these ones will get a full color palette on the color and a black and white on the original. If I'm at home and I'm playing a cartridge, I'm going to be playing it on this thing. This is my favorite, most comfortable, and honestly, at times, most used handheld. It's perfect for things like Tetris and Dr. Mario and Wario. I think when you blow these games up too big on some emulation devices, they start to look a bit naff. Because of the pixel graphics, they do look better, in my opinion, on a smaller screen. The next on my list is this. This is the Steam Deck. And the Steam Deck has quite literally turned my handheld gaming experience upside down. I've never been a big PC gamer, and I'm still not. Aside from maybe in the 90s, when basically that's all we had to play games on, it's been consoles or handhelds for me. So with this thing, I now have access to a bunch of games that I've never had access to before. And it's also, more importantly, allowed me to replay games that I did play on the PC back in the day that I loved, that are just difficult to play on consoles. Back in the day, I played a bunch of SimCity 2000, and then when SimCity 4 came out, I played a bunch of that as well. There was a time when there was a great version of SimCity 4 available on the iPad, but unfortunately this was killed off for a microtransaction hellscape. Ever since that happened, I've been looking for a great way to play SimCity on the couch. I don't especially want to sit at my desk playing it, and I'm not a big fan of having a laptop on the sofa. So when the Steam Deck arrived with its touchpads, I was all over it. It does take you a little while to get used to the touchpads, but once you do, it becomes second nature. The Steam Deck is also an emulation powerhouse, and you can run pretty much anything on it. And if you use Emulation Station, it's a pretty easy setup process, and it means that you can get to your games in a nice front end. When I first saw the Steam Deck, I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, look at the size of this thing. I thought it's going to be too big, too heavy, it's going to make your hands hurt when you hold it. No way. When I actually decided to pull the trigger on one, oh man, this thing is well balanced, it's super ergonomic, really comfortable. All the buttons are exactly where I'd want it. It's got thumbsticks where your thumbs rest, it's got buttons where your thumbs rest. Triggers are exactly where you would hold it. This is actually a masterclass in ergonomics, in my opinion. It should also be said that it was an absolute bargain. I got mine refurbished and it is immaculate. And last but by no means least, although it is the smallest, this is the Miyoo Mini. And I love this thing. This goes literally everywhere with me. It's that small, you can keep it on you all the time. And then if you're stuck in a queue or a car park or you need to kill some time, you can whip it out, it turns on really quickly, and you can play, 5-10 minutes of Tetris. This was the first emulation device that I ever bought, and it's still going strong and I still use it daily. Sadly, mine now has a few dead pixels, but that doesn't take away from the overall experience. In most games, you don't notice them. It's mainly in the menus that they are obvious. For the most part, I play Game Boy games and Game Boy Advance on here. It does play some more advanced systems like PS1, for example, but honestly, I don't like playing anything that's kind of designed for that size screen on one this small. I don't have especially large hands, so I find that playing this is reasonably comfortable for long periods of time. It does become a little less comfortable when you're using a lot of triggers, say on advanced games, but if you're just using the face buttons, I can hold this thing for hours and it's fine. Your mileage might vary if you've got bigger hands. The buttons on this I find are really nice. Both feel and size are perfect. And the battery on this thing is incredible. I'd never seem to charge it. It lasts forever. I don't know how long it's actually supposed to last for. But honestly, I can't remember the last time I charged this and it's still on full. So, I don't know. It's amazing. I got mine at a point when they were really difficult to get hold of, hence I got the blue. I would have preferred to get the original DMG colours, but it is what it is. I have a ton of other handhelds, but these are just a few of my go-to devices. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.